Welcome to Tales on the Towpath, the podcast where every mile tells a story.
We're two runners who spend a lot of time out here on the C&O Canal towpath, talking about training, racing, and everything that happens between the miles.
From early morning runs to the stories that keep us moving.
This is where endurance meets inspiration, one step, one tail at a time.
So lace up and join us on the path, because every trail has a story, and this one's ours.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Adam Lowe.
And I'm Chris Earl.
And I'm special guest, Katie Lowe.
Hey, welcome back, Katie. Tonight, we are entering into episode 3 of our 3-part series on the JFK. And tonight we have with us two special guests who also participated in the JFK. Their names are Robert Kelly and Beka Good. Welcome, you guys.
Hi.
Hey.
Thanks for joining us. Robert, why don't you start for us? Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in running? And then we'll go over to Beka.
All right, cool. So first of all, I want to say it's an honor to be on your podcast. I've loved listening to it, especially the JFK episodes. So good job. I'd say I've heard Adam tell his origin story about how he had gotten out of shape and wanted to get in shape, and that's very relatable to me. I had a point, I guess, in 2018 where I'm like, I got to get in shape. I'm just determined to do it. And so I started going to the gym, and I was going to spin classes like 4 or 5 times a week. I enjoyed that. But at a certain point, I'm like, I need something where I can set goals. And I'm like, I'm just going to become a runner. That's just what I picked to do. I like numbers. I like seeing the progress. It's very easy to see with running how you're doing. So I'm like, I'm just going to start running. And to make that stick, I'm like, you know what? And this was February of 2019. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to register for the Marine Corps Marathon in October just so I have something out there that keeps me going. So they had the early registration. I didn't know there was such thing as like lottery back then. They just had an early registration. I jumped in, got in, and I'm like, okay, now I'm committed. And I didn't even start running for like another few weeks after that. Like, and I'm like, I'll just go to the like a path near my house and I'll just run some laps and see how it feels. I'm like, I'm in good shape after all these spin classes. And I thought it would translate smoothly, and it really did not. Like, it took me a couple of weeks for running to like start to feel comfortable at all. But I was like, I was determined, and so I started running solo. And then a friend of mine also had registered for Marine Corps, and she said, "Oh, I'm going to be training with the Frederick Steeplechasers Running Club training group." And at that point, I'd never even heard of running clubs or training groups. And I'm like, that sounds like a good idea. So I signed up, and really having those Saturday long runs with a group really got me addicted, to running, because I felt like I was getting lots of support. And I felt like as long as I was able to finish the long runs, I must be on track. I knew nothing at that time. I was just running. So it was definitely felt good starting. And then since then, now I've been running for 6 years. I've done Marine Corps, 7 full marathons. I've completed 32 half marathons, 4 JFKs, and then a bunch of other races, probably like 75 plus races. And it's just, I just enjoy the atmosphere and experience. So I just stick with it.
That's awesome. How about you, Beka?
So I started running back in 2014. My older sister was getting married that fall, and I was overweight, and I was like, I've been active my whole life, but I really got to like get it together again. So I lost 75 pounds in 6 months. And one day I was bored at the gym. I just did 2 hours on the Stairmaster, and my middle sister's like, you want to go for a run? I said, I hate running. Like, that's not happening. Just, oh, come on, just try it. So we went to War Memorial Park and ran stop sign to stop sign. Next thing I know, I signed up for a marathon. So that spring, I ran my first marathon at Shamrock, and I've never looked back. So luckily, my sister Sarah got me into running, and I've been hooked ever since. So that's been my running journey.
It's funny how many of us have started our running journeys by just like, you know what, I've got to have a change. And so why not just sign up for a marathon?
Yeah.
Went out with a bang.
Yeah.
So Robert, how old were you when you started running?
Like 51. So did my first marathon at over age 50, which was fun.
Nice.
Wow.
That's a really, really big task for I know when I started, I was 28, and that was
Wow.
a big task then. So starting when you're 51 is pretty impressive.
I have a question for Robert.
Go ahead, Kate.
Robert, you mentioned that you started spinning and then you wanted something almost competitive and competing with yourself to set goals and things. Did you do other sports in the past that started that competitive nature, or was that pretty much your entry into being that competitive and setting those types of goals?
I'd say I was never really into sports, but I like being able to see my progress. So, like it was, I never really was athletic. So yeah, it was really just I picked something where I felt like I would be able to see my progress because that helps motivate me when I can see things, paces improving, heart rate, all the different metrics you get with running are great.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So you both kind of had similar stories about how you started from the couch basically and then jumped into a marathon training. And some would say that's crazy enough. And then the next step would be ultra running or ultra marathoning. So, where did the idea come from for you to step up from the marathon and those shorter distance to the ultra marathon or the longer races? So, like, was there an event that you saw that made you want to join in, or you saw some other crazy people running and you decided to go further, or what was it? What was it for you, Becca?
So actually, I ran Chicago Marathon in 2019, and I got back, and about 2 weeks later, I ran on the bike path, and I went to Black Dog to get a coffee after, and Jack Hooper was in there from Bros and Bras, and he's like, "Becca, let's go run an ultra," and I said, "What's that?" And he's like, 31 miles. I'm like, I can't do that. And he's like, Beck, it's 5 more miles. That's it. And I'm like, what's five? I can do that. So that following March in 2020, I ran Seneca Greenway 50K. And then ever since then, it just clicked with me. And I'm like, I like this. You can eat and snack and just chill out on the trail. Yep, that's me. So that's how I got hooked. And I've never really looked back since.
All right. How about you, Robert? How did you get started into ultra marathoning?
As I was mentioning the steeplechasers, like I had just run my first marathon at this point in October, and they were looking for volunteers for the JFK 50. And I'm like, I like hanging out with them, and that sounds like a fun time. But I'd never even heard of the JFK 50. They told me where to show up on the towpath, and I found it. It took me a while to find where they were. And I was set up, handing out stuff. And as runners were coming through, I could just sense that there was like a really great vibe about JFK. And during the race, I decided, you know what, I got to do this race. And I was like, definitely going to do it. And then I was doing do it the next year, and then COVID hit, and I'm like, they announced that there's not going to be like crew, there's not going to be aid stations and stuff. I'm like, now I need all the support possible if I'm going to do 50 miles. So I waited till the next year, and I signed up at midnight when registration opened for 2021, and I've run it every year since.
Oh yeah, that COVID year was pretty tricky for a lot of people. I know that was my first year running JFK, and it was I guess I didn't know any different, but it was a little challenging to
Yeah,
navigate with the crew and all the different rules and speculations that we had. So
right.
yeah, yeah, I know that was a special year, but all right. Go ahead, Katie.
Well, speaking of JFK, we know you guys are both veterans at the race. How do you guys approach training for the JFK? Are you more mileage based? Do you make sure to put in a certain number of miles? Do you just worry about time on feet? Just looking into how you approach that training aspect. Robert, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, all those things you just mentioned, those strategies, it would be a good idea if I might try one some year. But mostly I just kind of wing it and then hope and pray for the best on race day. Like I've trained for a fall marathon every year I've done JFK, and I've always had the intention of doing specific training for JFK, but it's never really quite happened. So I get to JFK just on marathon training, and this year probably what looked like half marathon training, and I just go out there and try to fight to the finish.
But it obviously gets you there.
Yes, yep. But I wouldn't recommend anybody follow my plan.
Well, what about you, Becca?
I just I wing it too, but I do like try to aim for mileage. But on my long runs, I try for time on my feet. If it's just not, especially in the summer heat, I'm just like, get the miles and time on the feet because that's what's going to happen. And also, what I've done, I ref high school volleyball in September and October. So for those 2 months, I work all day at school and I'm at refing for 4 hours a night. Sometimes I'll wait to run. I know it's really bad at like 9:30 at night just to run on tired feet and exhaustion, just to get at least 2-3 miles, just to be like, okay, you're tired, you just want to go lay down, get something in. Just because that end of the part of JFK where you're tired and exhausted on your feet all day, get you like a little bit of a training. So some nights I did that or early mornings, but just to see how tired I really was, just to get the time on my feet.
So Becca, just for some context for our listeners, when you say on your long runs you're just looking for time on feet, what does that mean to you? Is that 1 hour, 3 hours?
Anywhere from 3 to 5 hours, give or take.
So that's a real commitment on the weekend to get those in. So good for
Every
you.
Saturday morning. Yep.
All right. So what we really want to get into this episode is your experience at JFK this year. So what we would like is if you guys don't mind just sharing some of your JFK experience. You can talk about, what it was like from the beginning, like getting to the race to working your way through the AT, the canal towpath section and the road. Anything you want to talk about, feel free to highlight anything that surprised you this year, even though it's your multi-year of doing JFK or things that went really well. I know our listeners would love to hear what your experience was this year. So Robert, why don't you go ahead and start for us?
Yeah, this year I want to start off by mentioning that last year at JFK was my first ever DNF in a race, the only DNF I've ever had. So I came into this year's preparation with like a lot of like apprehension, like maybe I just can't do this race anymore, and I'm like a little concerned because it was in my head. So leading up to this race, I pretty much decided to just not think about it. So I like was joking that I'm going to just be in denial about JFK is even going to happen until like packet pickup. And I pretty much followed that. Like I just, because most of my thoughts about JFK were not like thinking that positive, like about how it was going to go. So I'm like, I'm just going to keep training. And when I get out there, I'm just going to make it happen. So yeah, this year, probably the biggest surprise for me this year was just maybe finishing. Like I don't know if I really had much business being out there this year with the training I had done, but after last year's DNF, I knew that I had to finish this year and I wasn't going to let anything stop me. So I just figured, you know what, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to try to will myself to the finish line. And it was not the magical year of like 2022 with Katie and Adam, where I don't recall any hard times during that 12 hours or 11 hours and 39 minutes. I mean, that my memory now is of only positive things. Maybe in a couple of years, this year will be only positive things, but this one was definitely more of a struggle. Every year's been different. Like the first year, I was super stressed because I'd never done it before. Second year was the great year with Katie and Adam. Third year, I remember it just being a good time. This was more just I had to do the work and get through it. But as usual, it was a great experience. Just all the support out there. I definitely wasn't loving every bit of during the whole time this year, but in the end, as I expected, like it all became fun retroactively as soon as I hit the finish line.
So, am I right in saying that this year was your fifth attempt and fourth finish?
Correct.
Okay.
And did you run the majority of this year's race by yourself? I know you and Becca ran some together, but were you by yourself the majority of the time?
Well, we started at the start line with me and Becca and Adrian, and we were together I think for like the first 7 miles. When you're on the trail you can't really look behind you to make sure you're all together. So at some point we lost Becca, I'm not sure where, and I was still with Adrian, and at some point she completely dusted me. Like she finished like 2 hours ahead of me, so she did great out there. So I was alone from like mile say 11, And then at mile 27, and I'd been looking for Becca the whole time. Like, she can't be far behind me. And mile 27, here she comes. I'm like, yay. And so we stayed together the whole rest of the time. And that was very helpful for me. Like, she was very encouraging. She would say, we're going to finish this. And I believed that, but I wasn't like, and I didn't have to like it. Like, I'm just out there. I have to get it done. But it was definitely helpful to have her with me. And like, the crazy thing for my race was that every year the AT is great for me. Like, I feel great on the AT. You don't have time to think about anything. You just run. And I think I got to the towpath within a couple of minutes of my fastest time. But from that point on, I don't think I ever ran more than a quarter mile straight. Like, I started out doing point 0.10 run, point 0.10 walk, and it's sometimes point 0.05 run, point 0.05 walk. And I'm like, I just have to try to split each mile however I can do it. And I would see what my time was each mile and be like, okay, as long as I'm staying under 15, I'm okay. And when I met up with Becca, fortunately, she was on board with that plan, and we pretty much stuck with that the whole time. And then when we got to the road, we ran downhill, but never ran up a hill and stuff like that. But quite a day.
How about you, Becca?
That's good. Just going in with that mindset that you can do it is the big thing, especially me being the back of the pack, chasing cutoffs, trying to keep that at least an hour buffer. It's hard, especially when you're like, I just keep moving forward, keep moving forward. So getting to the start line, and I partnered with Robert a couple of days before, and we were like, let's see how far we can make it together. If we lose each other, that's fine. Let's just at least start together. So that was good. The AT part is what I always worry about. I'm not the greatest trail runner. And cutoffs is one of my biggest things, being a slower runner. But once I got off the AT, I didn't slip, trip, or fall. And I was so thankful. I did have a 3-minute wait. There was someone going down on a stretcher. So there was probably 15 of us waiting to get around. My sister texts me because she virtually paces me to make sure, like, hey, you're on pace. Just keep going. And I don't respond back, but just so I know, I don't have to do the math in my head all day. But once I got off the AT, I kept going, seeing my friends. And like mile 20, I was like, man, I don't know. But positive thoughts is my thing for me. Just keep that mental toughness. And I'm running. Then I looked over at mile 27. I was like, Robert, let's do it. And then we just kept on going to the end. I said, I don't know how we're going to get there, but we're going to get there. And just keeping each other, company. Because I've never ran with someone that long before, especially in JFK, because you just want to just keep going. But we had a great run walk. And it's just getting over that mental barrier that, oh, I can't do this. Like, no, I can do this. And that's really what you need going into the race, for someone who is always finishes in the golden hour.
Yeah, so I think a lot of times, like, just finding that companionship, like, the year that myself, Robert, and Katie did it all together, it was, the race was long. It was still 50.2 miles, but it seemed doable because when I felt good, the other two maybe felt bad, or when they felt great, I felt horrible. So we kind of love, misery is company, right? So,
Yeah.
you're kind of able to project onto somebody else a little bit there during the race. So,
That was
with
really
that being,
close.
that I know I almost had an atomism, but I caught it.
Misery loves company.
Oh
Not
man,
misery
I got
is
it wrong.
company.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought I got that one. Darn it.
Close.
Hey, before we go on to the next question, sorry, Adam, I got one follow up. You guys mentioned that you had kind of planned ahead of the race to start together and to run together, but I'm just curious, when you got separated on the AT, how was that for you? Like, was was that a surprise? Like, did that make it hard for a little while? Like, what were your thoughts when that happened?
For me, I was just like, oh man, that's okay. Just keep going. Just keep going. Try and get off under 4 hours. because like Robert said, it's hard to look back to see where, and we said just keep going. But I just like once I actually ran, my miles were actually a little quicker pace wise than they have in the past. I'm just like, I had some slowdowns. But other than that, I was just like, just keep going for it back. Solo race now. So it was just me and myself and I until I got off the AT. And then I'm like, I got on right under 4 hours. I was like, yes. Because last year I fell right behind Robert. Last year we were on the AT the whole time together and I fell, but I got up and like, he's like, you okay? I said, yeah, let's just go. But this year it's just that mental, keep going. Like, oh, well, you're by yourself now. Just sing some tunes and keep going.
What I loved about what you said was about your self-talk, about talking positive to yourself while you guys were running, because that is so important during these ultra marathons. I mean, any long race, even marathons, some people half marathons, any race you can talk to yourself in a positive way is going to be so much better, I think, than the alternative, because we've all been in races where we've had those negative thoughts and they can just derail everything you're trying to do. So I love that you talked about your positive aspect. And chances are, you guys, what Adam said with your partnership, when one was positive, could bring the other one out of a negative headspace and vice versa. So that's really great.
I was gonna say, as much as I knew that I would be happy that I finished, I was more driven by not wanting to DNF. So like I'd like to be more positive in races than I was, and I wasn't negative, but I was just focused on moving forward because I knew that that was just what it was gonna take. But I wouldn't, yeah, say that I was definitely thinking positive thoughts the whole time, although that's
Yeah.
what I prefer to do. But I was just on a mission this year, and when me and Becca got separated, I didn't really believe that we were going to be able to stay together the whole day anyway, just because of myself. I'm like, at some point, I'm not going to be able to do, to keep up or whatever, and I'm going to need to just kind of grind it out in a way that most people aren't going to want to do. I was glad when she agreed to the intervals I was doing because that's about the most I could do. Like if she said, let's do, point two at walk run, I'd probably be like, that's the best I can do is 0.10. So it was good that we had that understanding because I think that was the most I was capable of, and it worked out great for me. And she definitely did give me a lot of pick me ups along the way. The distraction was good, being able to talk because if you're on alone on the CNO, it's kind of all you have time to do is think, and it's not always going to be happy thoughts. So it was definitely helpful for me.
Yeah, well, you guys have now talked about how much you've helped each other and how much you've made it easier for each other during the race. What I'd like to know now is what was the hardest part of the race for you? And were you ever tempted to DNF? I mean, when you're out there at JFK and you look down and you're at Antietam and you have 23 miles to go, like there's no way around it. 23 miles is a long way. I mean, if I had to run 23 miles to work every morning, well, I don't like going to work anyway, so I wouldn't do it. I'd just run around my neighborhood. But like 23 miles is a long way. Chris, you're gonna have to edit that out because I can't have my people listening to me saying I don't like working.
Right.
So what was the hardest part of the race for you guys? Robert, why don't you answer that first?
In terms of miles, I'd say it's a tie. Every mile between 20 and 42 yeah, was about the hardest for me. Like it's mentally, it's what I love about the AT is that I don't think about anything but getting off the AT. But once you get off the AT, then you realize you still have like 35 miles to go. And it's a long time before you can start saying numbers that feel better. Like I feel like you have to at least get to the halfway point before you can start counting down to be, like I'm past a marathon now. Thinking about still having a whole marathon to go is not a pleasant thought. And I know runner's math is supposed to be in your favor, but it's not always easy to come up with the right formulas out there. But I'd say the hardest part definitely was the CNO canal path. And I was never tempted to DNF. Like I just knew that was not an option. Like no matter what I had to do, I wasn't going to DNF again. So never a moment where I thought I would.
Good. How about you, Becca?
Yeah, I DNF'd my second JFK back in 2023. I got to mile 38 and I missed the cutoff by a minute and 12 seconds. I was sick that year,
Oh,
but I kept nothing in my stomach. But I'm just like, nope. So nothing. I felt okay. Like I didn't have any sickness issue or anything, but I never thought about DNF. And I saw my paces. I was like, man, I'm going slow. And Sarah's like, you're rocking it. And I'm like, oh, 11:45 mile. Well, that's a surprise. So I just kept going. But miles, luckily I had Robert with me, but solo the previous years from about 33 to 38. I don't know what it is on that part of the canal. It's just really got to dig deep for those 5 miles. I don't know what it is. I just see my Birds and Bros crew at 30, 31 ish, but the 33 to 38, I'm just like, where is the next cutoff? Just like where, like Santa Claus, like I didn't see Santa this year. Like I was like, oh, Santa. But no, ever since I
That-
DNF that second year, I've net the DNF, like there's no choice. I'm getting to that finish line. He's got to dig deep and just keep moving forward as a pace. Just keep going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like you had a hard spot the same place Chris and I did. I swear they moved Taylor's Landing. I said that last week, but I'll say it again.
Yes.
The other thing that's hard about Taylor's Landing is you get there and the aid station, the actual aid station, isn't for, I think, what, Chris, another half mile or so?
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
so far. And it's like, just, oh my gosh, where is it? Oh, but I completely agree
Yeah.
with that. That was my hard spot too. You know, like you didn't think about DNFing, but were you ever caught? It doesn't seem like from your splits that you were too close to the cutoffs, but were you ever truly worried that you would get pulled from the course because of the cutoffs this year?
No, but so me and Robert were going off each other and we're like, we have in the on the race story, it would tell you, and we kept going down a minute and we give each other knuckles, hey, another minute, hey, another minute. And it just kept, and we're like, there we go. And then it went up 2 minutes, but we're like, well, no, that's okay. We stopped in the aid station, we refueled, and then it went right back down. So we had that cutoff and we looked and we're like, we're going to have probably 45, 50 minutes when we get to dam 4. And then we're like, for that mileage, we're trying to do some math on our brain. And we're like, we can aim for like 18-minute mile if we had to. Like, we're totally fine. And we got to dam 4, I believe, a little quicker than we were like, yeah. And we looked at each other and we gave each other knuckles. We're like, 8 more and we have plenty of time now. So yeah, we
But that was a
played the
great
cutoff.
feeling.
Yeah.
How about you, Robert? Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, if I had one strategy this year going into JFK, most years, is that I know that if I can get to the canal path with an hour buffer, then I can challenge myself to hold on to it for as long as possible. And in my head, I'm like, if I can get to the halfway point with an hour, then I can add 2 minutes to every mile the rest of the way, pace wise, and be okay. And the thought of having the ability to do 17-minute miles for the second half is just comforting. It's not what I want to do, but knowing that if the wheels come off, that I can make it still. And as we got closer and closer to dam 4, yeah, we were doing the math, constantly. Her race joy kept saying what our estimated finish time was, and we were holding on to that buffer, sometimes gaining a minute in there. And so that was our strategy, and it was encouraging to keep hearing that we were sticking on that. And then yeah, by the time we got to the road, yeah, we had the ability to almost do 20-minute miles the rest of the way, which was, and that was what kept me going, is knowing if I hold on to the buffer, and I did, that was my first year too, where just hold on to the buffer, make it so that if you had to, you could walk it in. And so fortunately, Becca's walking pace is very fast. So, and mine's pretty good, but she's pulling me at like a 15.5-minute walking pace. So we were never really losing much time, even with our walks. So I think looking back, we had a great strategy and we executed it well for what we could do as golden hour people. So I feel good about how it went.
There's something that you said, Becca, that I really love, and I want to like make sure all our listeners heard it. Like you were tracking your pace and you got like a minute ahead, you got another minute ahead, and then when you had that moment where there was a 2-minute drop, you didn't get depressed, you didn't get defeated. You were like, no, it's because we stopped at the aid station and we took that break that we needed. And like that is so important. And I think that applies like across the board, because even in my race, right, the miles where I went through the aid stations, right? We all have that momentary drop in expected finish time. And it's so important to recognize that that's because it's part of the plan and not like, oh, the wheels are falling off. So like kudos to you and Robert for recognizing that and embracing it and like getting after it. So that's amazing.
And I would piggyback on that to say that it actually reminded me of the book that I'm reading currently about mental training for ultra running. And they say people tend to panic, and especially if they're chasing cutoffs and worried about that, that they will almost ignore those aid stations. But that's
Mm.
really not the great thing to do. The best performers at the end of the day are those who are calm and they do take those couple minutes, even when they're worried about cutoffs, because you need that fuel. You need that time at those aid stations. And although you might be worried about your overall time, at the end of the day, taking that time to fuel and hydrate and take care of yourself is actually going to propel you and maybe is what caused you to drop minutes later in the race. So that was a really good strategy and great job keeping your head cool.
Thanks.
All right. So I'm curious to hear your all's thoughts. Tell us what you're thinking or feeling when you start to see the sun setting as you're deep into the race, right? You've started in the dark, you're going to finish in the dark. You know, how do you deal with that mentally? Becca, you want to go first?
Yeah. Like I said, I'm used to that every year when I finish. But once I get my cool vest, I'm like, it's showtime. Let's go. It's going to get dark. It's going to be cold. Usually it's colder than the morning. So I make sure I threw away my gloves this year. I'm like, I shouldn't have, but I'll just power through. And we don't use a headlamp. I brought one just in case, but I've never used one and Robert's never has. I'm like, oh, we just won't use it, but just in case. But it's kind of see because you don't really see the hills. So you're not like looking up the whole time. So you feel them, but you don't see the hill. But we just went up and down, and I like running in the dark, to be honest. But just mentally, you see the mile markers down, keep going down. We're like 7 more, 6 more. We know we're going the right way. And then we're always like, there's an aid station coming up. Just quickly grab something and keep going. And just I always if Robert stopped to get something, I tried to walk like in a little circle just to keep my body moving because it's going to like freeze. I'm like, my body's too cold, so just keep moving around. And I'm like, hey, let's go. We just kept going. But I'm used to running in the dark. I know I'm going to finish in the dark, but it's just keep moving forward. It's my biggest thing for JFK.
How about you, Robert?
Yeah. Yeah, like Becca's saying, finishing in the dark is just another day at the JFK office for me. So like I remember vividly one year after JFK, I was looking through all the race photos and I saw people running past a tennis court. And I'm like, I don't remember ever running past a tennis court. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's dark when I get there. And so I wouldn't even recognize the middle school in the daylight. So and I'm fine with that. Like I'm getting my money's worth for the race for sure. But one thing, yeah, I have some serious regrets though this year about my wife was my crew person and she had a jacket for me that I gave her and gloves. And I took none of those things and I froze the whole rest of the way. I lost 7,000 steps holding my hands in my pockets the whole time. Didn't even get my 102,000 steps like I'm used to getting. But sorry, Becca, for complaining the whole time on the road about being freezing. But we definitely had I feel like a shift in mood on the road too, because I knew we were going to finish. And so I feel like I felt a lot more upbeat once we got on the road and being dark's no big deal. So it was a good time on the road. I enjoyed that part.
I remember the one time I said I had my arm sleeves going, and I said, I'll take my arm sleeves off and you can wrap your hands in them. My arms will be okay for miles. I'll sacrifice being cold for your hands." He's like, "No, no." And I'm like, the offer's there. I had them rolled down. I'm like, they're compression. They may be a little sweaty, but put your hands in it and they'll be okay.
Well, so Robert, you had your wife crew for you. Becca, did you have crew?
Yes, I had my British bestie, Emma.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so did she carry extra clothes for you? Did you grab anything extra?
Nope.
Did you carry anything to plan for that getting colder?
Nope.
Okay.
I just go. I'm like, just keep going forward. No. I had my fuel. I just rely on peanut butter jelly and Crustables. And ever since I did the Freedoms
Yeah.
Marathon and I had a banana, it's helped me. So I've had a banana with her. That's
Y-
what I lived off of.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you say that. Last week I talked about how I couldn't eat, but bananas were the one thing I could tolerate. So I had totally forgotten about that until you just mentioned it.
Well, I think one of the things that makes JFK 50 and other ultras so special is that it is a long way, and there's no way to sugarcoat that. 50 miles is 50 miles, and a lot of things can go wrong. We see elite runners who have everything planned out, everything given to them, as far as like the latest technology, nice warm jackets that they're not allowed not to wear, Robert, or, nice comfortable shoes and stuff that they have to take. And they plan for things to go right and they plan for things to go wrong. So, I really applaud both of you two for figuring it out as you go and still moving towards that finish line no matter what happens. So my question to you is, when did you know you were going to make it to the finish line? And I think both of you have kind of alluded to this, that when you got to the road, you had plenty of time, but just walk us through, I guess, the home stretch. So let just kind of tell the audience what you were feeling maybe as you went through that very last stoplight in Williamsport and you crested that hill by Murray's Tire. Becca, why don't you go ahead and tell us?
Yeah. So once we saw, like, when I heard, I was like, "You hear that, Robert?" He's like, "Well," I'm like, "That's the interstate. We're like a mile away." I said, "I think. I know we're close." So we, just keep going. Then I said, "I might PR." And he's like, "Go ahead." I said, "No, I don't, I'll stay together for a little bit longer." And then I kept going. And then I said, "We're almost there." So I took my safety vest off and I said, "Robert, I'm going to go. I'll see you at the finish." He's like, "Okay, go." And then, you're just running towards the light and all you just keep, and everything's hurting. You're cold and you're like, locked up a little, but you just keep going towards the light. And then you hear everyone cheering. It's just, and then you cross the finish line. It's like, wow, I did it. I had tears of joy for once. Usually I don't cry after races, but I was just like, and my nephew, he's like, "You okay?" I said, "I'm just so thankful and happy that I finished this year." It was, a fight for the finish at some points, but just when you see the lights and you hear Mike Spindler up there, it's just like, you made it. And it's just like a big relief.
I think that new sheets on the road there is like one of the nicest sights I've ever seen. Like all the bright lights. Like I remember, um, I kept for probably the 4 miles before we got to the main road. I kept saying to Becca, "Yeah, we're almost to civilization. I can't wait to see like the gas stations and all the stuff that tell you that you're like getting into the big city there." And so that was what kept me kind of motivated on the road. That it won't be long before we're like in civilization. We're going to start hearing the loudspeaker. I feel like I felt really good the whole time on the road just because I knew we were close to the end. And so it's such a great feeling when you start to see everybody and you hear Spindler talking. Yeah, it makes me smile just to even think about it. It's what I'd been looking forward to the whole race.
Yeah, so some of our listeners may not have listened to one of our previous two podcasts about JFK. So when we are referring to the golden hour, we're talking about runners who finish in the last 12 to 13, that hour time frame. So Becca has done that 3 times. Is that correct, Becca?
Yes.
Yeah, and Robert, 2 of your 4 finishes have been in the golden hour.
Right. I just edged one in 11:58 to get to stay out of the golden hour one time, along with our magical 11:39.
You wanted to avoid it that one year, but
Right.
yeah. So that golden hour is just the last hour that finishers are allowed to finish. So it's just amazing that you guys are able just to mentally continue on and keep going the entire day and get it done before the finish line closes.
And it's nice to go on because when you're going towards the finish, there's still a lot of people out there cheering for you. I think I saw Katie. I looked right and I'm like, "Hi." I had no idea who it was. And I kept going. And then Emma recorded me and I just looked at her like with the what face, like, who are you? And then you just keep going. But there's so many people because I finished some marathons way before cutoffs and there's nobody at the finish line. And it's like,
Mm.
where's the
Yeah.
people at? So it's seeing and hearing all these people and random strangers that you've met throughout the day. Some have waited to see you finished. And it's like, wow, such a great community and race. It's just amazing how many people come back and wait in the cold to cheer you on to finish the latter part of the hour.
Yeah, so we were out there watching everybody finish the golden hour, and at some point there must have been somebody, a volunteer or something, that left down by Murray's or something because all the runners were coming in on the wrong side of the road. So I had started walking further and further away down the road, down the home stretch, to try to tell runners to get over on the left-hand side of the road because that's where the finish line is. Like, you want to run on the other side of the road. So was down there trying to tell people, and I was yelling at everybody. And Beka, you did come by, and I was like, "Oh, Beka!" And then I was like, "Where's Robert?" And but I didn't know. I didn't. But he was literally like, what, just
Right behind
20 seconds behind you or something. Yeah, it was really, really close. So then, but I knew you couldn't see me because I was all bundled up, and I barely even knew it was you until you were right up on me because it was so dark. And it's funny you said go towards the light thing because those bright lights at the finish line, that's what I was telling everybody as they came down by me when I had walked out further. I said, "You're almost there. Just go." I know they normally tell you not to go towards the light, but in this case, go to the light, go towards the light. So, but it was really fun being out there in the golden hour watching you guys. And I want to do that every year now because I wouldn't have it any other way.
And just for everybody to know, it's special guest Katie Lowe, the Angel of Darkness. Told everybody to go to the light.
Go towards the light. That's right. But with that said, what do you guys think was your most memorable experience of the day? Was there a certain I mean, we've been talking about what went well and what didn't go well maybe, but what was your favorite part or most memorable part of the day? Robert, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I would say like the things that stick out to me when I think back about it is just seeing so many people that I knew out there. There was so much support with the other runners and so much support with the crew people and just spectators. And it always was a good pick me up. The aid stations are always great. The Incredibles were out there. I started pointing my camera at them to take a picture and they started dancing. It was hilarious. And so there's just so many moments during a race. But I have to say, like for me, JFK is not just like a single day event. For me, it's like JFK season. Like it's like the whole fall. I'm thinking about JFK. I'm talking to people about JFK, and probably the thing that was 99% of what set me up for thinking I could finish this year was the two runs I did with the FAFO group. Like the first one I went with you guys, I knew I was going to have to push myself, and like so that gave me a positive feeling to go toward the race. And then the next run, and I will definitely not miss any runs with you guys next year. I'll be at every one of those and probably asking for more of them. But like there's so much about JFK.
Absolutely.
The community is like I always tell people there's nothing like the community of JFK. I always say joke that on the Facebook group, it's the only Facebook group I've ever seen where somebody could ask a question for the 100th time and they'll still get like 100 helpful responses. Nobody will say that's been asked before. Like everybody wants to share their experiences and help people that want to run JFK. And I've never seen any community that's quite as encouraging. And so I just love everything about the race. And it's not like to me, like I said, a single day event. It's like a whole like season of JFK. And I'm already excited about next year.
Yeah, I love that. I love that JFK season. It really is that way because once it hits a certain time, we all just start talking about it, we discussing things, and I've never noticed that about the JFK group, but that is so true. But Beka, do you have anything to add to that? Most memorable moments or favorite part of the day?
I mean, I smile the whole day at JFK. I have even when I was sick in 2023, I just like going into marathons, I'm like, here we go. But when I fell in love with it, my first year, I did it and I finished it with 8 minutes to spare. I just fell in love with it. So going into this year, it's just like all smiles, getting off the AT. And before I met Robert at 27, there's some parts where I was like, man, I'm just not, gotta think of something to keep going, or like a song to step to my steps or something. And then I'd get random cheers. And I look down, I'm like, oh, they're tracking me. Oh, that's cool. So then I just, in the cheers randomly, and I would sing that song or that chant, whatever it would be. And then it's just like seeing my Bros and Bras crew at mile 30-ish. I look forward to seeing them every year. And then finishing, it's just a really memorable race. And I just smile the whole time, even talking about it. And it's just like, yeah. Last night at a run group, someone's like, has anybody ran JFK? I said, let me tell you. And it was just the whole 4 miles. And then, but they always joke when new people run with me, they're like, so what'd you tell them to sign up for? Nothing. I was good this time. Just JFK.
Right.
Yeah.
When someone asks, why do you do this? Why do you pay money to go out and put yourself through this for 12 plus hours? What do you guys tell them? How about you, Beka?
I just say it's such a fun, challenging experience that I think, no matter your pace, just going out there and doing it, it's just, I love this race. I pay the price every year to run it. And it's just, every year's different. Last year, I felt phenomenal. This year, it was great, but I didn't feel like 100% like I have last year. So every year is different. And just going into it, it's just an amazing run. It's a long day, but just keep going forward. And I've had somebody say, oh, well, a little bit on the slower side. How do you do it? You just keep going. You literally just get off the mountain in one piece and just keep going. But always finishing that, I'm like, I finished though. You have people, like y'all finish the 6 to 9 hours, but we run the same distance too at the same pace. I'm like, we're still conquering the same distance, and it said everyone's different, but I'll pay every year to do it. Love to suffer a little bit. It's okay.
How about you, Robert?
I like the challenge of it. I like pushing myself to accomplish something that is hard, and JFK is definitely hard. And I always say, and I believe it, no matter how, if I ever do it faster, like I would love to have a sub 10 someday, but I'll never disagree with myself when I say that there's no such thing as an embarrassing finish time for JFK. Like if you finish JFK, I admire that, no matter what time you have. Like I know what it feels like, to do it. Like, so there's not, like if someone ever said, oh, it took me almost 13 hours, I'm like, "Hey, that's amazing to me." So, I like the challenge. It is different every year. Like Beka said, I've had a different feeling about every year. And you can't predict how it's going to go. You can't predict how you're going to feel. And so that's part of the fun of it, I guess, is that the distance is just, you can't be totally prepared for it, at least not at my level. So it's like, I just like the challenge, and yeah, it keeps bringing me back. Like, I don't know when it'll come the year that I decide to sit it out.
Adam and I have had so many conversations as to the distance is the accomplishment. The time, who cares? I know so many people in the population, or who you work with, or who your friends are, if they're not familiar with JFK, or even if they are, the fact that you finish is huge, and it's something to be proud of. And most people, if I told them I finished in 6 hours or 12 hours, they'd just be like, wow. Like they don't have, there's not a lot of knowledge, I don't think, in the population as to what a good 50-mile time would be.
Yeah.
6 hours, 12 hours, anything in between, shorter or longer, it all sounds like a lot of time on your feet. And 50 miles sounds like a long way. And it really is something to be celebrated. And I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and I think we would all run out of fingers if we tried to count up the number of times our friends and family have said, I don't even like to drive 50 miles.
Right. I say
Yeah.
that myself.
Oh, go ahead,
Well, I just
Becca.
want to say, for people who want to do it eventually, like, I went into this race with 2 goals besides finish, and I didn't hit them. And I knew I probably wasn't going to hit them. So if someone said, don't get discouraged and get down, just turn that headset and just keep going. I missed both my AB goals, but I was like, hey, I finished. and I was happy with that. So if you're not hitting your paces or anything, just don't get discouraged and let yourself down. Just keep going forward, and the outcome, you finish, and that would be more than you come back next year and do it again.
Absolutely. I really couldn't agree more with that either because there have been last year, JFK, I was suffering. And there were times I had goals too, and I didn't hit my A or B goal that day either. And there was a time on the towpath that I was like, I don't care if this is 12:59,
Mhm.
59. I just got to get to the finish line. Like,
Right.
I will keep going one step at a time until it's that, if that's what it takes, because at the end of the day, I would still be proud if that's all I could, if
Yeah.
that was the best I could do that day, then that is that is more than enough, you know?
Yep,
Mhm.
exactly.
All right. Well, it has been so good having both of you on tonight to tell us about your JFK 50 experiences this past year. Is there any final thoughts or something that you didn't get to share with our listeners that you wanted to touch on, or maybe some words of encouragement to somebody who might be on the fence for next year? We'll start with you, Robert. Go ahead.
I'd say, as far as words of encouragement, I'd say if I can complete JFK, you can complete JFK. Like it it's more of a mental challenge to me if you have a certain base for running. You don't have to have that big of a base, but you have to be willing to suffer a little bit, but it'll all be worth it. And that, so I always highly recommend JFK to anybody who says they're thinking about running it or tells me they're going to run it. They're going to hear all about it from me, about how great of an experience it is. And I've never had anybody come back to me and say that they didn't find it to be a great experience. We met a couple of people, some people out on the road that said they're never going to be back again, but I think that they were enjoying themselves too. But now I always talk up JFK, and it's hard to really explain it to people who have not done JFK.
Well, I think you guys have done a pretty good job tonight explaining it and encouraging people to run it next year for sure. Becca, go ahead. What about you?
It's like this what I was telling Adrian going into as her first JFK. I said, just break it up into segments, because she's like, how do I carry my fuel? I said, so run a 15-minute or a 15-mile run, refuel. 15 miles after that, you fuel, you'll see your crew, and then 8 after that, and just break it into 5Ks. I said, don't think I got to run 50. Like, break it up to where you see your crew. Emma and I didn't have her meet me at 27 Antietam because I was going to see her, and my mom crewed me for mile 30. So that was my thing, 15 miles, 15 miles, and then the 8 stations. And then once after 38, it's just go to every 8 station, which are like a 5K or 4 miles apart. And that's your goal after there. And then all of a sudden you're like, there's the lights, I'm done. So don't think a whole 50 miles, like that's a lot. Just break it up into segments. That helps me going into it also. And just sign up and do it. That's what I told people. Emma doesn't know it, but she's going to sign up next year.
Emma very specifically told us I think it was in the middle school afterwards, that no, a marathon was enough, that she would sign up to do another one of those. But I think with a certain amount of influence, Becca, you could
Yeah.
probably get it.
I paced her for her first marathon this year.
And she owes you.
She does. And then I paced Devin at Marine
Well-
Corps. She owes me. There we go.
Yeah. Hey, listen, this is way more fun than a marathon,
It
in my
is.
opinion. So
Yes.
All right. Well, one thing we like to do to wrap up our podcast is the after party. So during the after party, a lot of times when Chris and I get done running on the towpath, we realize that throughout all the conversations we had during the run, we usually have like 8 or 9 different things we didn't get to talk about, and we got to just give some quick one-word answers to the questions. So, Robert, I'm going to have you answer the question first and then Becca answer. Do your best to keep your answers short. And we'll just kind of fly through these. I will ask all 9 of them for you. So, Robert, did you go out and celebrate the night of the race?
No, I had too long a ride home, sadly.
Okay, how about you, Becca?
Nope. I got my chocolate milk and I went home.
All right, and I know both of you have answered this question already, but are you going to run again in 2026?
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Favorite section of the course, the AT, the towpath, or the road?
Definitely AT for me.
Towpath.
All right. I like that answer, Becca. Good work. Uh,
Mhm.
morning or evening runner?
An evening for me, not by choice, but it's the only time I can.
Same. Except for Saturdays is morning.
Yeah.
All right. Would you prefer to run solo or in a group?
Group always for me.
Group.
All right. What is your favorite race distance?
Marathon.
50K.
All right. How about coffee? Do you drink coffee before a run?
I'm not opposed to it, but I usually don't. But I drink coffee a lot.
No.
No. All right, two more. Your personal best that you're most proud of.
My 144 half marathon PR.
In 2024, my 12-minute after the year before DNF at JFK.
Very nice. And last question here. Do you have a bucket list race?
I'll say for me, Boston. I still want to qualify someday, so haven't given up on that dream.
100-mile race.
All right. Very good, guys. Well done on the after party questions. I will let Katie go ahead if she has any closing thoughts for today, and then we'll have Chris wrap us up here. So, before they do that, I just want to say thank you to Robert and Becca for joining us. They are our first true guest on Tales on the Towpath. So, thank you guys very much. Katie, do you have anything you would like to close us out with?
No, I'd just like to thank Robert and Becca again. It was really interesting and fun having you on and hearing your stories, especially because we started this. Well, I started my JFK journey with Adam and Robert.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to hear that and to know what it was like to having run an entire from start to finish JFK with you. So I loved hearing your experiences in this year especially. So thank you for coming on and sign up on March 1st,
Oh, yeah.
2026.
At
I'll be
midnight.
Do
there.
not wait. That's right. Whenever it opens, set your alarms, sign up.
Well, I just wanted to thank you both as well. Like, this has been a fantastic conversation. I've really enjoyed getting to know both of you a little bit better. I mean, I've known both of you through Strava and Facebook, and seeing you at races and around the community. But this has just been a fantastic conversation. I've really enjoyed it, and thank you so much for your time and being willing to share it with us.
Sure, my pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you, guys. That's all for today's episode of Tales on the Towpath. Thanks for joining us on another run down memory lane and along the C&O. If you've enjoyed the show, be sure to follow, share it with a friend, and leave us a review. Until next time, keep your pace steady and your stories flowing.